This is going to be a video showing a solo master Nightfall Ordeal on the Disgraced, getting platinum rank and the 100k pinnacle reward. As you saw from the loadout there, just quickly brush over that as I'm running through this particular Nightfall. We have an unstoppable hand cannon on, which is Officer Revolver, which can create one-man cells. Riskrunner, which is an exotic, which pretty much anyone can get this exotic. Then we've got a solar sword on, which you don't have to match the solar sword, but I would advise you do. It's better off doing that rather than running guillotine or something like that. That sword is from the Prophecy dungeon, so we've got that on. We have a hybrid build on, so we've got Global Rage, Wrath of Rasputin, Rage of Rasputin, meaning we can create solar one-man cells. We have Charge of Light build with Shield Break Charge and Lucent Blade. So every time we get a Shield Break Charge, we can get Lucent Blade to proc with our sword. Now, with this first room here, we're just proc and devour, so we're on Voidwalker of course, bottom tree Voidwalker. With the exotic helmet, the Stag, which when we are critically wounded, we generate rift energy. If you use 100% recovery, you have your healing rift pretty much all the time. So with this particular room, we're just going to devour our way with it. We're using Riskrunner, obviously everything's arc, so you can see its utility. The problem with this weapon on this particular Nightfall is this. If you use it too much, you will get error coded, bird error code. Now, this 6 weeks ago, because there's 6 Nightfalls, so it'll have been 6 weeks ago. That was happening to me then, but that was before the update for PS5 and new Xbox. So I was getting error coded with Riskrunner, using it, because Riskrunner is the perfect weapon for this Nightfall. But what I've noticed is it's when you spam it too much, so trying to swap your weapons a bit. It's actually healthy to do that anyway, so use plenty of sword, use plenty of Riskrunner, because your sword ammo goes far, especially with a sword like this, which I have Relentless Strikes while in Blade, so the Relentless Strikes just makes it go so far. Now this champion bugs out, and it can happen to you. If you spam Riskrunner too much on a champ, sometimes, okay, we're talking, you know, it's a low % chance, but it can happen, okay? But there's 3 anti-barrier champions in that first location. The exotic sword Lament would work well in this particular Nightfall. The thing is, you're not going to have that added protection. We've also got arc damage resistance double. Okay, that is the most thing that you want to prioritize for. The reason for that is 2 reasons, because most of the things are arc, and there's a modifier called incoming arc and environmental damage is increased. So you get wrecked. And the boss does arc, the wizards do arc, you know, so on and so forth. Now this particular champion can be hard work, just depends on sort of where you stand, but you want to stand at either left or right, and then just sort of spam your Riskrunner. Sometimes you'll teleport inside, sometimes you'll teleport out of your area, but that's fine. You're not going to lose ammo, because even if you get the champion sort of weak, and he goes away, you haven't wasted any ammo, you've only wasted Riskrunner, which is infinite ammo, because the gun feeds you ammo when you're taking arc damage. With the wizards there, you need to have Devour proc to do that maneuver. Unless you're going to die to the 3 wizards if you don't. Now, knowing the spawns will help you out. Now I took the time to sort of learn the spawns, because I didn't really know the spawns for this. So this is my first Disgraced, like ever, on this channel. Obviously I've done the D1 version, the D1 variant. This is the first one, so I was learning this too, and it was sort of the first hour or so of having a go with it. So it's sort of how you see it, but there'll be a couple of Curse for All, which we've just killed. Then there'll be a couple of Arc Boomer Knights with Acolytes, right? That's what we're killing now. Now you want to let the Arc Boomers push you a little bit before you suppress them with Riskrunner, because if you go down there near the Shriekers, they're just going to back up. You don't want them to back up, because what can happen is if you open up the Shriekers, there's double Shrieker at the back. If you open them up and you're where the Shriekers are, you will die from the Shrieker. Okay? So you need to play back where I am. That's critical. If you can get a cell like this, that's great. So if you want to use your hand cannon a bit more, use it. But, you know, fair shout. That's why I've got it on, because we can make cells, you know, like so. So it's invaluable. it's the best hand cannon for something like this. That's why we're using it. Then we'll get our shielded knights with swords, like so. So, we can just take them from here. Now, I was playing overconfident here. Don't do it, but we had a Devour there, of course. For safety, but I was overconfident with that, so just be careful. Let the knights come in. If you can kill them outside before the Shriekers open up, then you're ahead of my time, which is good. But time isn't something that you need to bother yourself about, so you don't need to speedrun this one. The 100k on this one is easy peasy. You could take 50 minutes, like solo run on a master, you'd still get 100k. It's not like last week where glassway was like, you know, time pressured sort of thing, because it's so long. This one's long as well, in a sense, just because of how the boss is. But it's way easier than what glassway was, so you'll expect a lot more runs on this one. And the Grandmaster will probably be a lot easier than what it was last week. However, I haven't seen like any footage of any good places to stand in the Grandmaster, but I'm sure there will be somewhere. But anyways, we're taking the Shriekers from here. Why are we doing that? Well, because the Shrieker won't shoot back at us, so we can carefully take out the Shrieker. It's slow, but it just means we're not having to mess about. So we'll take down the Shrieker. No problem. Now this spawn is going to be the hardest part of this particular part. Now I want to do another bomb here. It's going to more than likely push the champ off, which it did. I was expecting for that. But at the very least it'll stagger him like so, and then we can actually just take him down. So the thing is with these knights, the ones that stand up at top, so there's two of them, no matter what you do, heavy, anything that's like, even explosive payload would probably knock them off. Anything like to stagger them, they just fall off, and then you can't get them because all the other adds are sort of covering the champ, and the champ's behind a container, so you don't want to do that. Ideally you want to take them out with Riskrunner. Riskrunner doesn't stagger them off the boxes. That's ideally what you want to do. Right now we're looking at our radar because acolytes flank you. But when we're confident, we're going to run round. We knew we were going to get weak there. I knew I was going to get weak. That's why we saved a Devour. And this is going to be your safe zone. It's not completely safe, but it's way better than anywhere else, I think, for this part. As you're going to have, I think there's 3 anti-barriers, 2 on the floor, an arc boomer, there's 1 or 2 of those, and then the anti-barrier up top. So this area here is good because even if you get weak, you can sort of hide, get a rift, because you'll get rift energy, you'll get nearly departed to proc, which you'll see it happen, like right now. It's procced, got a healing, great. So it's consistent doing it back here. You just want to sort of maybe keep an arc boomer up like I did, because you're going to consistently get Riskrunner to proc, and that means you can melt champions down, essentially. Another thing that I could do, that I didn't do more of, is melt them with Riskrunner and at the very end swap to your hand cannon and get a cell. That would have been more beneficial in the first room, for example, stuff like that. As you'll notice here, this is very important as well. Some of the anti-barrier champions have different weapons, so the void ones wreck. I don't know why, but they seem to wreck more than the arc ones, even though the arc's on. Probably because I've got arc, damage resistance, Riskrunner, but the void ones are more dangerous, funnily enough. So you want to just be careful of that. If they're doing void, that they wreck pretty quick, and they're harder to deal with because if that's the only champ there, and there's nothing else doing arc damage to you, then it's harder. Now you can shoot through this window here, as you can see. What screwed this up here for me right now is I ran out of primary. If I hadn't run out of primary, I would have been able to take this champ. I believe I don't end up doing so, as this knight pushed us from behind. Always be careful of that. We got primary to drop from him, but what we're going to do is, there's only 2 champs now, so we're going to bait a champ out down here. Get some sword damage in first, and then we can take him out. Now the reason why you want to solo sword is because there's solo witches. Now swords bypass shields, I'm aware of this, but when you burst an elemental shield and match an elemental shield, you get a stagger. So you can stagger witches, you can stagger the boss. It's better just having a solar sword, okay, rather than having something else. Like Lament would be ideal for this. But I think this is better than Lament because you've got the Riskrunner and then you've got a handy sword as well. That's decent. We put a boss spec in the sword as well. That helps out for the boss because the boss is very tanky. Now we've got a super to burn here, so we're going to Nova one of them. Then we'll get a shield break. I should have probably popped Devour first, but it's okay. It's not so bad. Attrition's on, so you get health regen off ads. So this particular Nightfall isn't as hard because there's so many ads. You're gonna get attrition. You're gonna get an orb of light from the ads all the time. So your health isn't that big of an issue, but the Devour just speeds everything up. You can do it on a Titan. You can do this on a Hunter. But I believe the setup I'm using right now is the best, easiest way for somebody who has never done this to do it. Now we're on to the patrol part, which you don't want to be clearing any ads there. As you see, there's a 0 times multiplier, so you don't get any points, any score. If there's a flag, go and pick it up. For the purpose of this video, I don't go and pick it up. Why is that? Well, to simulate what a run would be like without the flag there. Yeah, makes sense, right? Oh, if the flag's there for you, go and pick it up because you'll get max ammo. I had max ammo anyways, but you get your max ammo and you get your super. You know, you just rally the flag and then you run through. That would be the best. And I would actually have helped out in this particular run because I could have Nova bombed the boss, sped things up that way. But like I said, this is to simulate. Not everyone's going to have a flag there, so I didn't want to pick it up. If you have Charge of Light right now, this would help out you get your Lucent Blade going, which I didn't. So, first thing you want to do is put 2 or 3 swipes a heavy and run away. Now, what happened there? I don't know. But that generally doesn't happen, so just back off at that point. That's going to spawn all the ads. Now, the way the boss works is, at this certain location right here, like in D1 you used to be able to kill this boss, it was omnigul. It wasn't Navôta, it was omnigul. You used to be able to kill her and get loot and stuff. That doesn't work now. You can kill her here, just you don't get loot. She just respawns up in the next room. But spawning the ads, it will spawn in the champs, 2 champions, 2 anti-barriers, a boomer knight. You want to leave the boomer knight up as long as you can. The one that's to my left, because he's going to keep proccing my Riskrunner. Because as you can see, that champion's void, and as I said, the void ones seem to melt. So you want a boomer knight up. You're safe to sort of tank that damage. Now if you're below, like say 1275, it might be a little bit different, but if you are that sort of power, it's even more so needed that you need Riskrunner on, because it gives you that much protection. The lower power you are, the even more reason there is to put this weapon on. So with this boss itself, I've done a little bit of damage. The boss is very tanky, no matter what difficulty you do it on. We've put a bit of damage in, but not enough to send the boss away. You must send the boss away, lest the boss will not retreat. You have to get the boss away to spawn in the champions. Obviously you want to spawn in the champions, you know, to get platinum. We also need to clear the solar wizards at the back of the map. Stuff like that. So we have to sort of... I would suggest this is the best way of doing it. Even though it's a solar shield, pop a healing rift and sit in your healing rift and stand round here. You'll eventually take the shield down and then use Riskrunner to sort of get rid of the boss. Now, I had to do it in sort of 2 goes because my healing had went, and if I stood there any longer I would, you know, might die and stuff. Obviously we could have got their helmet to proc and stuff, but just got to be cautious. We're nearly got a rift now, and we'll do the same thing again. I could have sworded. Thing is, if you sword, what's going to happen there is your unstoppable champion will spawn on top of you, kill you, and the solar wizards will get you. So I wouldn't. Now this is why I was saying, if I'd rallied the public event, I could have Nova bombed the boss, but my Nova bomb doesn't do that much damage. But it would have maybe helped this bit just a little bit. I could have Nova'd from a range. I mean, I've got my Nova here, but I want to use that for I don't know if I use it. I think I use it for something else. But I thought there, rather than Nova, I mean it would have helped out, I guess, all in all, but I'd rather have used it, whichever way I end up using it, and champions up above. So this unstoppable here is easy to take out. The champion will not push around the corner of the map, where we are here. Meaning that we can just take the champion from here, look. So we can just keep hitting him, keep stopping him, and we can get a cell off him. But don't put yourself at risk by shooting the cell, never. Unless you go fire team medic on, which I don't. I actually don't have that mod. I'm waiting for the gunsmith to sell. But if you do, yeah, sure, you can go for it. You know, when you get the cell off him, obviously kill him with your hand cannon, and you'll get a cell. Which will help the wizards to the right, because the cell will then be solar, because it's Rage of the Warmind. So you may do half damage to them or something. You won't kill them. I'm sure I've done it before. You won't kill them, but you'll get them weakish. Because after this champion, that is the next port of call. Forget anything else, you need to take them wizards on the right, because they will wipe you if you don't. There's our cell. Cell's in a queer spot. We're not going to bother with that. We're just going to go for the wizard. We'll proc a devour here, very important you do it. And then just 2 sword swipes each. If the curse pushes you, just get out of his way. I think we do end up shooting the cell, so I was wrong on that. Doesn't clear out much. Reason being is because there's a lot of arc shields up there, and this solo Warmind cell is not going to do anything to the arc's match game shields. This is where attrition can be hard, because we need to start playing from range a little bit. But you want to bait out all the cursed so you don't get surprised. There is 1 or 2 up there, I believe. Sometimes they hide, depending on what's going on. But the hardship with this section is there's an anti-barrier champion at the very top. There's a load of boomer knights below him, and then there's 2 anti-barrier champions with them. There's tons. Now fighting on this hill, it's going to be hard. Getting everything down from here. There's no cover. Everything can hit you, and even with Riskrunner, it's just too much. But what you want to do is proc a devour. Forget the anti-barrier above. Just try and take out the acolytes to get some health. Maybe even get an attrition orb as you're going through, and then just come up here. Pop a healing rift in the corner of the room as far right as you can, because the left hallway, some acolytes can still get you, but if you go right in the corner they won't. Now as I said, there's boomer knights, there's 2 anti-barriers, but we have an angle on them now. This is the best location right now. So you're working your way backwards. You're getting these, and then we'll get the champion outside. We'll probably devour as well, just in case we're getting hit too much. We used our Nova bomb there, it's just so used. That's what I was saying. Rather than use the Nova on the boss, we've got the boss under control, but this bit, you want to melt these champs, so it was a good time to do a Nova. Okay? That's why I recommend saving it. And just do the Riskrunner thing. Sitting in your rift. Champion's in a bad spot. We'll get a stagger, but he's in a bad spot. So we'll leave him and let the champ reset. Now this anti-barrier is on his own, so we're going to use some sword ammo. We've got Spores of War on, which I forgot to mention. So that means we can get heavy off a champ. Now as you saw, I've barely done that in this run. Oh, I didn't do it there. I end up doing it on this next champ, I think. But basically, it just gives you a break. 9 times out of 10, it's not a guarantee, but 9 times out of 10 you will. I've got Sword Scavenger on, so I'm never running out of ammo. I've never end up running out of sword ammo in this particular run. And that's not because of luck, it's just because you use your sword when you need to. You don't really need to use it all the time. It's more for the burst damage and all that stuff. So you need to jump up to this anti-barrier, because it's going to be hard work doing it otherwise. So this is the Spores of War. You'll get a brick as you saw, so we're max. You definitely want to be going at this fight with max sword ammo. That's a big thing. primary, you're going to get it with double primary. You never really need to worry. Just, you do need to make sure you got hand cannon ammo, I guess, because at times you do need it. But always be, you know, keeping an eye on your ammo while you're doing it. Now, we got a cell there, which I don't end up utilising really, because we want to get our cell positioned first to do sword damage. Forget the cell, because that would just waste time. We can get some free sword damage on the boss. I could have shot the cell on the way back. The thing is with that, if I get trapped in the boss's field, right, whatever it is that they do, and they slow you, then they're going to melt you with arc. So you want to get out of that field straight away. You want to do a bit of sword damage, just a little bit, and then run. You don't want to keep there for too long, because the longer you're there for, the more chance there's going to be thrall spawning in and all that stuff. So you want to do a bit of sword damage at a time. That's the safest way of doing it. So now we're just weighing the boss up, see what the boss is going to do. We're going to get a stun here. Obviously make sure you're full health before doing so. And then we're getting out of there. Next wave. So there's mini waves. Obviously all the waves have had a link to the boss's HP, so there's loads. Now if we were to just melt the boss with a lot of sword swings, you know, pop a healing rift down, do a load of sword swings, you're going to get tons of adds, which might overwhelm you. Okay? So you don't want to do that. You want to take it bit by bit. Same again, we're going to see what the boss does. We're also waiting for our health regen, which we could pop a healing rift, but you can see the health's going to slowly go up anyhow. I'm just waiting to see what the boss is wanting to do. I'm also looking at his attack patterns. I haven't really analysed his boss so much. Boss is retreating, but we'll get him to immune. So I think that was 2 to 3 phases of Thrall and Cursed. That's the first phase, or Thrall at least. The second phase of the fight is a bunch of acolytes, boomanites. The boss will disappear, so the boss isn't a threat. Now you're playing at the top side of the map now. So the waves of the adds, they rotate. So the first phase, you're playing from the top because the adds are bottom. When the adds are at the top, you can play from the bottom of the hill if you want. If you must. If you're not on Devour and you need your health, play at the bottom of the hill because the adds really won't push you. The Thrall will, on a particular phase. It's always safer on the opposite side of where the adds are spawning. You never get adds top and bottom. There's a cliff area and then there's the hill area. You never get both, which is good then, because that way, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you can always sort of survive. As long as you're on top of everything. Try not to use your sword too much, because we're getting shield break charge off these knights, which we can use for damage, boss damage, which will just help out. But try and kill them with your gun. Just go on here. Then the boss will spawn at top side, where I'm at now. So this bit's pretty safe. It's better than down bottom. We'll hit him with a heavy attack, a Nova. He's doing that aura wave, and then we'll get our next wave of adds in. Which, top side of the map, they all spawn from bottom, but they run to the top. But if you go to the bottom of the hill, that's the safest location. Because the boss can't hit you from here. The Thrall can, but you know, you need ad clearing weapons on for this particular Nightfall, which is pretty obvious with that. If you get a cell as well, you can clear out a full room of adds. So getting cells in this room is such a good thing. Again, we'll do a bit of sword damage and run off. Next wave of adds, same wave. So whatever particular phase you're on, it's generally the same sort of type of adds you're getting. So when it's boomers, you've got acolytes with it, like at this first phase. And then when it's Thrall and Cursed. But what happens is they mix up the rotation of spawns when you get to the end of the fight. Never approach the boss if you're below like half health or something. Like make sure you're going in big damage. If you get immune like that, around about half health, that's a phase over with. So again, like I say, you can come down bottom of the map. Actually, I would advise coming here. Now, the reason being is because we've got a champion spawning. It's only one unstoppable. The unstoppable will not push you down here. I imagine the unstoppable would if you expose yourself to him for a long time. Now, this particular phase is dangerous because there's no arc to help us out. You've got to use your hand cannon, you've got to use Devour, try and get a cell, and then that can clear out so much and help you out. So that phase I was all about getting a cell, it wasn't Riskrunner. Riskrunner wouldn't have helped us there. It would just been like a standard SMG at that point. So that's all that's clear just about. We can get stuns from back here. I could have went and sorted this boss, but I wasn't sure how much sword ammo I needed for the rest of the fight, so I just chose to hand cannon the boss down. There, the unstoppable down. This not only shows how to safely do it, it also shows that if you haven't got the heavy drop, say you're using a different type of heavy, if you haven't got the heavy drops, you actually don't need it. You can still just take it with your double primary. Obviously the champions are on a timer as well, so you can't just keep stunning them over and over. You've got to, there's that brief spell, 2 to 3 seconds, where you can't. Just be aware of that. If we can get him into a finisher state though, that'll be handy just to get a finisher kill, so there's another brick on the floor, you know. Which we have done. I'm not sure if I finish him or... You can either finish him or look to get a cell from him, you know. And if you get that cell up, the boss will spawn in, and the cell will do damage, and probably take down the shield. But that wasn't the phase. So when that so that's a mistake I made there, but I've learned just now from watching it. Don't be down the bottom when you're killing, when the first unstoppable is killed, because that spawns in the next unstoppable behind you. I had two ogres spawned right behind me just there. So you're better off actually physically killing the unstoppable. Doesn't matter where you are in the meantime, but at the very end, make sure you're at the top of the map. And then when the dual ogres spawn in, you can take them from distance like so. And again, these ogres won't push. I imagine they would if I, you know, creep down the hill just a little bit more, but back here they won't. They'll just try to burst you down. Again, I wasn't sure where the boss would spawn, so I was playing a bit slow, but the boss ended up spawning top side map. The boss doesn't go back to bottom of the map until below 3rd HP. So we're still on a couple of more phases yet. We're gonna get a finisher kill here. Oh, brick. Boss has spawned back in. And we just want to wait for the boss. Now if the boss is retreating like that, we want a good angle. There's different ways of doing it. So you can jump up, do a light swing and a heavy swing, aerial attack, and then just go in like that. But just know on this particular phase, the boss has a lot of HP to go, so just do a couple and then run off. We haven't spawned in the next set of ads, which is fine. You could Nova Bomb here as well. I don't think I did, but you could definitely do that. Waiting for our health regen to recover. And we'll do this angle again because I quite liked it. Just light swing heavy. Okay, now looking at my radar, seeing all the ads have spawned in, so we're going to get somewhere safe. Back of the map. Watch the ads, they do flank you like that. They can do. We've got a cell, so we'll take the cell. Pretty much everything was down anyway. The cell will do damage. You just saw, if you just quickly saw there's some damage numbers. So it's doing damage to the boss as well. It's handy. The boss is very tanky, hence why we've got a sword on, because the sword goes so far in terms of ammo. I was using something else, you know, a solar rocket or a solar linear, they're just not going to do the job. I'm not saying you can't do it with those weapons, I'm just going to say they're not as good in terms of ammo wise. You know, they put out decent damage, but just not enough total damage. The sword's got loads of total damage, Anarchy's got loads, Interface got loads, etc. So yet another phase, but that's fine. If you do get into trouble as well, we can always devour up like I did. This particular phase, there's not much to it. Like this boss fight isn't bad. It isn't as bad as Glassway. Nowhere near. Nowhere near the skill difficulty of that one. So considering it's such a small room, there's a lot of cover. There's a lot of places where you can stand and be safe. The only downside is the boss is very tanky. I mean, not so much with a sword. I imagine with other types of weapons there'll be a bit of struggle. Like if you try to use Ariana's Vow on this boss, you know, it's gonna be difficult. So the boss is now teleported down bottom. So this particular phase is cursed for all, yeah, and actually knights, and some thrall as well. So that's, we're back to the Burma Knights. No acolytes, which is actually ideal. If there was acolytes, this would be a bit harder. But there isn't. There's only acolytes on that one phase, which is the hardest phase. It's probably the hardest phase because there's no arc. They don't do that. They do void. The Burma Knights, pretty easy because you can just get. They do arc, of course, so you can just get your Riskrunner going. You can get this if you're a new light player as well. Like, I've actually done the quest. I've actually done the new light quest to be interested to see what goes on with that. And it's very good for XP. I would recommend to anyone, like I've done it on my Titan, the new light, like all the way, but the thing is, the new light quest doesn't finish, it keeps going on and on and on. Like you'll end up, after it's done, you get Crucible quest line, Gambit quest line, Strike quest line, and it all grants XP. So if you don't want to do bounties, or you maybe want to do a couple of bounties, but something different, do that. It's actually a good idea. Like, I mean, not now. You don't need farm XP now, but for next season. If you've got new light campaign on any of your characters, it's a good way of getting like free XP. And at the end of it, or part way through it, there's a Riskrunner quest. It's just the Cosmodrome mission. It's essentially the first ever mission, but like, you know, Riskrunner's the reward type thing. So we're just taking again this in phases. Again, we're just going to make sure we're approaching the boss at full HP. The distance between me and the boss is too large by the time I get over. But if the boss can lure over to you like so, then it's stiffer. Boss has a lot of HP left, so we'll put in some heavy and then retreat. We can do a Nova here as well. Which sort of takes away the soul shield very easily. Good time to do that. And then we're on next wave of ads. Same thing, Thrall, Cursed. Probably 1 or 2 Burmas, something like that. When the boss is around 10 to 15%, you'll be able to... I don't know if there's any more phases after this. If there is, there's no champions. This is, you'll see all the champions in the run, but when you get the boss to around about where I've got it, you can sort of final stand with the boss and take him out. That's all adds down, I believe. So we'll get into our position. There's going to be a bit of RNG, sort of what the boss does. So there's other locations, there's a couple of pillars, there's 3 pillars, so you can use the pillars to your advantage. Just know if you go to a pillar, sometimes the wizard can come round and get you, so be sure to have a healing if you're going to do it. We'll have a healing here as backup, and then we'll just go in with light. Yeah, I don't think there was any more ad spawns after that. So that was the 100k platinum run on this. Not too bad on this loadout. Other classes it might be harder, but there's always a get out clause with this one. As you can see, there's always somewhere you can stand. Hope you enjoyed, thank you.